It doesn't matter what words mean. What matters is what they do. Our lives are filled with doing action in social environments. As Sidnell and Enfield put it, if I wanted you to leave the room, I could physically lift you up and put you outside of it. Or I could ask you to leave, or beg you to leave, or order you to leave, and so on. These latter options rely on my ability and your ability to use and understand language and expression. In conversation analysis, we spend a lot of time determining how actions are structured and when and where they are used. People generally assume that words mean things. There is some word and it refers to something. But a word can be used in different contexts to achieve different things. And some sounds and gestures have no common or standard meaning. These words may not have even existed before that exact moment interaction, and yet they can still get things done.
Wheatley? I'm the one working with the Nazis?
Ted, just... okay.
In this example, Barney uses the lack of words to get something done. He gets Ted to hold off so he can finish what he's saying. In conversation analysis, we're not particularly interested in meaning. We're interested in what people are doing. What do they accomplish in their talk? Sometimes the actions are fairly straightforward. For instance, in this call, there is an offer.
Want to come down and have a bottle of lunch with me? I got some beer and stuff.
Well, you're real sweet, hon. I have to call Raul's mother.
This offer, or invitation, or proposal makes it relevant for the other speaker to accept or decline coming for lunch, which is exactly what happens. As such, they have gotten something done. They've raised the possibility of having lunch and declined it. Not all actions are so intuitive, though. Schegloff and other conversation analysts have discovered that there are all kinds of actions we do on a regular basis which are not part of our common vernacular. For instance, how do you do the action of closing a phone call, something that many of us do every day?
I got to call Raul's mother before I do anything else, so I'll give you a buzz.
All right, honey.
Okay.
All right,
Okay,
bye.
Bye-bye.
This transaction is to initiate finishing the phone call. We start and finish conversations all the time. Even though we don't think about it, we use language to get that work done. But that's not to say that it's always clear what action is happening. For instance, what is Penny's turn doing in this clip?
Too early for drinks?
I suppose it is. Would you like a coffee?
No, I'll have a drink, if I may.
The first utterance could be ascribed as a request of some kind. Penny is recruiting Jean to pour her a drink. There are several possible actions that could be relevant next. Jean could reassure Penny that no, it's not too early for a drink. Or Jean could offer Penny a drink. Or Jean could say, oh, good idea, and begin fixing drinks. Or Jean could do what is scripted in the show. She could agree with Penny's suggestion that it is too early and offer a non-alcoholic drink instead. If Penny wants that drink, she has to be more explicit. Her last turn here is much more obviously a request, as well as a repair of the misunderstood action. Not only do I find it more obvious, Jean now also hears it as a request and pours drinks. The issue and contention across these turns is the action at hand. What is Penny accomplishing with her turn? What does Jean take her to be doing? What does that mean for Jean's next action? And what can Penny hold Jean responsible for doing or not doing next? Penny's intended meaning in the first turn is not as important as what the turn is taken to have done. What occurs in this data is that Jean acts as though the relevant next action is both agreement with Penny's assessment and an alternative offer of coffee. Jean's ascription of Penny's action is what shows conversation analysts what action is occurring. This is called the next turn proof procedure. What matters is how Jean ends up interpreting or ascribing Penny's action, how Penny reacts and ascribes Jean's action, and how that continues to unfold over the course of the conversation. The issue of action ascription gets all the more complicated with a more complex social action, such as breaking up.
What's going on, Ted?
We need to talk.
Oh, we need to talk? There's only 2 situations where you say that to someone, and unless you're pregnant, it sounds like you broke up with her.
Yeah, I did.
Hang on, let's pause here for a second. Lily has already predicted what Ted is about to do. To Lily, Ted's action is highly recognizable. It's going to be breaking up. Ted obviously thinks so too, but for people who know the show, Stella's about to be confused. 15 minutes later...
Oh, I'm just so glad you and Ted are back together.
Yeah. Wait, What do you mean, back together? That was a breakup, wasn't it? You broke up with me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a breakup.
Are you kidding? I said I feel awful. You said we're good. Then you got up and left.
Yeah, I said we're good, as in we're good. Like when the waiter comes around and asks if you want any more muffins, and you say we're good.
Exactly. And I took that we're good to mean you didn't want any more metaphorical relationship muffins.
Perhaps even more challenging is the fact that we don't get to see the precise moment when Ted says whatever fateful words he says that he thinks should have triggered the breakup. But I think that makes this segment all the more fascinating. We are left with only the portions of talk that Stella and Ted deem relevant to share. These are the moments they treat as generating action, or lack of an action, and ultimately it is their treatment of the earlier conversation that is crucial. They could have reached that understanding during the earlier conversation. Stella could have treated Ted's words as a breakup, and the action would have gone off. But because they failed to achieve that intersubjective understanding earlier, we get to see how they orient to what actions they thought they were achieving. Basically, it's a giant repair sequence, which is handy because repair sequences are the most useful for identifying where actions occur. They show us, as analysts, in minute detail, the kinds of things participants take to be relevant in ascribing action, and how participants make sense of their actions before, during, and after a conversation. This is how conversation analysts deal with action and conversation. They look to see how the speakers themselves determine the action and relevant points. In other words, how the listener ascribes the prior speaker's action and subsequently displays that information in their next speaking turn. Through using this next term proof procedure, we ensure our analysis reflects the conversational data as closely as possible, that it is empirical and scientifically sound. Instead of coming up with categories in advance and lumping certain words or terms into boxes, we focus on how speakers make sense of their own world within their own talk. Thank you very much to the Center for Research in Communication and Culture at Loughborough University for supporting this video.